Phew, well, I'd like to call this part of the project the climax of the night. Why? Because I've been fighting with this thing for about an hour to an hour and a half, setting it up, all for a few short seconds, and bam, the game is over. I managed to pull it out. Well, that probably shouldn't make it into the video. Anyway, for all intents and purposes, the first part of the project is over because I managed to pull the drivetrain, that is the engine and the transmission, out of the car. And so I'm going to let it hang there for a while, but I'd like to speak about it in a little more depth because there are a few things I ran into. So stick with me. You guys are going to wake up in the morning and watch my video and say, well, this man's been working. Burning the midnight oil. Yes, I have. And this is why. Again, that light helps me, but not in this case. Okay, so the engine is out. Unfortunately, it's not all the way past the vehicle because I'm out of space. And it's well past midnight here, and I did not want to remove it. I did not want to, lower the car, put it back on its wheels, and scoot it back out. So, check it out there. The transmission is pulled from the drive shaft. Everything is disconnected. This is well suspended over here. I'm going to have it suspended somewhat over the front stabilizer bar so that in case this thing went back down, that's going to hold it. In my experience, it's pretty good at what it does. And the straps look healthy. But, so a few things. Well, one is, in trying to undo the engine and trying to unlock it, I had come here and, very unlikely, but it's pretty cheap to do, cheap and easy to do. So I had wanted to know whether my engine was hydrolocked. So for one, I pulled this up, right? I removed 3 spark plugs. And upon removing this one here, check this out. It is smashed. The electrode is not existing at the bottom anymore. Well, I knew that's trouble. I couldn't see very far in there, but I knew that that piston flew up high enough to cause damage. Then check this one out. So, old spark plug, but at least it's got its electrode still existing, still attached to it. So, okay, what do we do here? Perfect. So what happened to this one? I'll tell you. It got smashed and it went in. The light is pretty bright, pardon me for that, but the electrode is in there, somewhere in there. There you go. Can you see it? So the tip is in there. So I knew this was bad. The engine must be locked. And I was trying to figure out why the hell this thing kept leaking oil all over. So, and just looking at it, this is the front cylinder right here. Well, here you go. You can see what seems cylindrical, right? This one right here. This is number 2 cylinder, right? The right bank are the even numbers. So, if you can check it out, is that it? Well, sorry, that's number 4 I was showing you. Number 2 is right here. The external features are not all that prominent, but you'll notice right here there's a little speck. There's a little snagger, glove snagger. Check that out. A little crack in the block, right? So that's a problem. But that's not interesting enough. Well, there's a lot of oil, as I said, oil all over. And come to this side, a little more fun. Check that out. There's a crack in the block, and there's a crack enough that I can see the piston wrist pin. Well, I'll just tell you this, depending on how familiar you are with engines, you are not supposed to see that at all. Well, you're not supposed to see your engine internals from the outside, but for one, you're not supposed to see that. So, number 1 and 2 pistons, number 1 and 2 cylinders have thrown rods. And it'll be exciting to go in there and take it apart, try to figure out what happened. But there are a lot of funky, I don't know if this was me, I really don't know who did all this, I don't know why I would, but some interesting marks on there. I really don't know if those would be normal stress marks. I don't think so, but they're interesting nevertheless, right? So, we're trying to figure out what happened to this engine. I got your answer. I'm trying to jump this engine, try to make it work. We know why it would not start, so here it is. And I've spoken about this in a different video. Look at that, oil pooling all over. I wonder where it was leaking from to pool at the top. Like that. Well, it might have something to do with the quantity of oil that was in there. I think I drained... A normal oil change drains about 6 quarts. But when I pull it up, when I check the dipstick, it was above the dipstick. Not by much, but again, remember from my prior videos, this thing is wedge shaped. So the dipstick, which comes all the way down here, ends up right here and dangles somewhere here, which tells you, you know, if it's between the graded level. Let's pull it out. So right here. If it's within the graded level between the two holes, it just tells you you're fine. Down here it tells you you're low. You don't really know how low, right? So let's put it back. I'm not really going to demonstrate much with it right now. So the fact that, you know, think of it as this being a, you know, trapezium, or just think of it as a triangle, really. And you have the dipstick down here. It's showing a certain level. The higher it is means you've got that much more level. There's a lot more of a rectangle up here, but now I'm talking math. I'm talking geometry here. Thing is, there was a lot of oil. I think I drained almost 9 quarts. That's a normal oil change. That's a lot of oil. And which is funny, you know, you know, it makes sense. It's the first thing people do when you feel like you've got an oil issue. What do? You add oil. You know, people rarely say check oil. It's just add oil. And so that explains why there was so much oil in there. And I feel like maybe, somehow, I don't think oil should leak through here. I'm not really certain how much 5 quarts translates, and I think I'll test it out soon. But pretty much I feel like you filled oil to a certain level that it leaked out. So a lot of work had been done to this car, including this exhaust manifold, which looks kind of like, is this the, I don't know if this is custom or if this is, yeah, this is custom. I don't think this is the 03 manifold. I'm not sure. The 03 manifold would have a crack in here and it did look different, so I think this is some custom work. Not very pretty. I'm gonna have to redo that. But so I do have used ones, and I'm interested to see if this catalytic converter actually has material in it. Yep, it does. I'm putting a finger on the other side. That one, otherwise on the other side, that catalytic material had been removed. I think I'm going to call it good for this video. We've seen as much as we need to do, and well, I'm glad it's coming out. There was no fixing that engine. This is a goner. Alright, till later, my friends. Good night.